I'm heading into retirement. Should I consider downsizing? If I have a larger house that is bigger than I need, my kids are kind of have graduated, they've gone off and started their own lives, and they don't need to come back to their rooms. Or will I? And the idea is, will I regret downsizing in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've had a lot of clients move. One thing about being in Silicon Valley is that the house prices, went really high, and so people have cashed out and moved somewhere. And sometimes that was downsizing, sometimes it was same sizing, different location. So, and sometimes it's actually upsizing, usually different location. And so it's really interesting. It's very personal, right? I mean, from what I've seen as a whole, some people are very, very happy to get back to a smaller space, just from a maintenance standpoint, from a cost standpoint. If you go to independent living or assisted living, those are all like 1-2 bedroom apartments and such. So it can be difficult because you've accumulated. I mean, you spent your whole life, especially if you're successful financially like our clients are, spent your whole life basically upsizing and filling that space with a nice dining room set or whatever it was that you really liked. And then all of a sudden you're moving down, and so it can be very difficult to decide what to get rid of and just the thoughts of that and what have you. So that's a personal thing. You have to trade that off. You're going to trade off kind of the space that you have and the things that you have for something smaller. And the big benefit is less maintenance, less cost oftentimes, because that can be really onerous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly working on my house. There's just something happening. I mean, they're in a state of decay like every day, essentially. That's one thing I didn't realize. The American dream of buying a home is still great. I'm very happy I have a home, but and I would encourage everybody to have it. But I didn't realize how much effort it is to keep them, keep them going and making them look nice.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have that issue is when we have space, we fill it up.
Yep.
When we have it, I cleaned out the garage and it's filled back up again with stuff.
Yeah.
It just happens. We accumulate things.
Yep.
And so when you downsize, are you giving up something? And another thing is, how often do your children visit? Or do you have grandchildren? And do you want them staying with you for a summer? Because that's what I did. Over the summer, I went to my cousins and I stayed up there, but they had enough space for me.
Yeah.
But if you downsize, do you have enough space for that? So that's another thing to consider is lifestyle. Is your family going to be able to come here, or do they have to rent somewhere else? But another thing that my family also did is, whenever we have a really big get-togethers, we usually go and rent a house or rent 2 houses close by together, and then we go to and just have a vacation there. Because the thing is, you don't have to worry about cleanup, you don't have to worry about all those kind of issues with that big house, but you could still enjoy it as a family.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So if you moved into a 2-bedroom condo or something and you were in a 4-bedroom house, you got to figure out what to get rid of and what have you. And if your family still wants to come, they're alternatives, right? I mean, obviously you still have 1 bedroom or some room if a small group of the family comes, maybe that works. But if you want to get more of the family together, there are hey, you go rent places, you set up, put somebody in a hotel. I mean, there are ways to handle it as far as that goes. But I have had clients go the opposite direction. I've had clients go from 4-bedroom house to 6-bedroom house. Mainly because their children had grown and had grandchildren, and they wanted a location to get people back to this home and hearth that they've designed to develop really around this whole event of having everything come back. Because it's like of all the things they do and all the travel they do, the most fun thing that they have going on in their life is having their kids come back with their grandkids all at once, have Christmas, whatever it is. And so it's sort of an investment in that portion. Again, that's what makes it personal. I mean, how big is your family, right? I mean, and how does that matter? I've got another client who they have gatherings that's 30 people. Oof. And now they're putting them all in a small house. Now they're not staying there, but they gather for Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, for example. And they have a really great tradition. They play these great games. It's really, it sounds like fun. I mean, they have a great time. But if they were to downsize to, say, a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment or something, they probably wouldn't even be able to do that, right? At least in their existing place. So it does matter as to what's important to you. Is your stuff important to you? Is having your family all together important to you? Are you willing to, basically set that up in some other way. What's your financial situation like?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so if you're going to end up really suffering financially to keep your house because of the maintenance and what have you, and you've got some equity in it that you really need, then, you know, maybe a reverse mortgage is an option. You know, those are problematic in a lot of ways, but does allow people to stay in their homes for periods of time. Or you move someplace else that's cheaper, buy that same size place, right? So I've seen clients do that. So it's a really good question. There isn't a spectacular singular answer because it makes you know, really a personal decision that you have a situation that is unique, you know, at least to you. And so making those decisions and looking at and being very, you know, honest with yourself about what's the most important, right? And then trying to make that happen. And life is short, you know, have fun.